Hello, and welcome to Everybody's Business. Today, I'm really pleased to have John McCrae and Chris Manos from Montana Generational Justice joining us. And we're going to be talking about the importance of estate planning and how to do that. So hello, John.
Hi.
Nice to see you. And Chris, nice to see you.
Thanks.
John, can you tell us a little bit about what Montana Generational Justice does?
Well, one of our focuses for years has been and I was unaware of this when we first started many years ago, that the amount of people that did not have their documents and how it impacts their life if they do not have their documents. And the documents we're talking about are your durable power of attorney for healthcare, your durable power of attorney for financial, a basic will, a declaration of homestead, and a beneficiary deed. And the really importance is that what these documents does for you, it also helps out your family, because they're not worried about the kinds of things that you would be worried about if you did not get these documents completed. An example would be, if we're talking about an advance directive, which is a durable power of attorney for health care and a living will. And what those documents do is they provide, you have the power to make the decisions on your health care. If at some point in the future you do not have what they call capacity or competence to make your own decisions, it's very difficult for medical providers to assist you unless you have an agent. An agent is someone that you trust that will help you make those decisions if you no longer have the capacity. There's also someone called an alternate. If something happens to the agent, there's an alternate to help that person or to fill in that position. So it's a really important thing to have these documents.
John, so an alternate and an agent are usually family members?
They can be, but they're not necessarily have to be. What we say is, who do you trust? Mm-hmm. And when you're talking about durable power of attorney for healthcare, who is it you trust that can help you once you no longer have capacity to make those decisions about your healthcare? And so it can be someone you trust. It can be relatives. It can be a friend. Generally, people look at family members, but that's not the only person or persons that you have to consider. I focus on, for healthcare, I focus on someone who, as I decline in health, is not going to get so emotional about that, and is going to focus on my needs to make sure that my needs are taken care of. Because if I am more vulnerable and unable to manage those kind of healthcare needs, I want that person there to take care of that. If you have an agent for a durable power attorney for a financial, you want someone to be able to pay the bills on time. Because if you have these healthcare needs and the bills are not being paid, then it impacts your ability to keep those services that you need. And I was both the durable power attorney for for financial and healthcare for my mom, and I saw how that impacted. If the services we provided her were very critical to her health, I need to make sure that I was able to pay the bills on time for her so that she could continue to receive those services. If a person does not have a durable power attorney for healthcare or for financial, the issue is then, and they're incapacitated, they cannot get a durable power attorney. So then they must pay the money, and to have a guardian, which is health, and a conservator, which is financial. And the minimum generally is it differs, but generally they say $1,500 or up is what it costs for that. And the court then decides whether you have the capacity or who's in that position to be your guardian or conservator. Whereas a durable power attorney, you have total control over that.
So a durable power of attorney both for healthcare and for financial would be something you would discuss and say exactly what you want to your agent.
Yes, what we try to do with Montana Generational Justice, we explain each of these documents, and Chris will talk about the purpose of each of these documents. But we explain to them what the document's about, how important it is, what's necessary, and what supportive documents you need to be able to complete some of these documents. And that's all part of the preparation. For example, like I said before, you don't just automatically pick someone. You find that person who you trust to be able to be in the place or be in the role of being an agent or an alternate. And each of these documents require some education and some preparation in terms of making sure that everything is covered and prepared you're prepared to be able to complete the documents. So it's very, very important for people to know what that information is. And the other factor I want to lead into is that people ask, well, how many, it's roughly the majority, nationally, the majority of people do not have their advanced directives, nor do they have other documents that I've mentioned. And I think it's important that people ask, well, why don't they have them? Well, sometimes it's the cost. People think it costs too much, or that it's overwhelming, or they don't understand what these documents do. So we created a program called Modest Means program. And how it differs from, let's say, how attorneys generally do that. The range is from 175 to 200. It could be less or it could be more, but that's the range. Per hour, that's what they charge per hour. We look at we have an income survey. So from 100% meeting the federal income guidelines to up to over 250%, and it's a flat fee. So no matter how long the document takes to complete, this is the price you pay. You know in advance what the cost is, and that's what we charge you for those documents. And it is a reduced cost. And I think it's something that we put a lot of time in, looking at all the people we have worked with over the years, what they could afford. And we are now at a point where even people who make, at 100%, if that's 100% of the federal income guidelines, and they only have $800 or $1,000, it's a minimal cost, but they get the same opportunity as someone who has 250%. So that cost, the cost is really equal to based on the income, and it really makes sure that everyone has the opportunity to get these documents.
Okay, and so Chris, you're an attorney who works for Montana Generational Justice. So can you tell us a little bit about what these documents are?
Absolutely, Valerie. So keep in mind, as I'm talking about these documents, there are documents that apply while you are alive, and then there are the documents that you want to have in place, upon your death, okay? And so what John has just explained on the health power of attorney, as an example, and durable financial powers of attorney, those are documents you do want to have in place while you're alive for the circumstances when you do not have the capacity to make your own medical decisions or own financial decisions. Because those documents are only effective while you're alive.
Okay.
And so that's when we talk to many individuals, they'll say, well, that's okay, we've got the health power of attorney, durable health power, and a durable financial, so we're set for basically for our life planning, because that's what this is. And that's then when we say, well, keep in mind though, upon your death, the better document or an additional document to have is a basic will.
Okay.
Okay. And so, as John has touched upon, I think pretty well, is the value of having the durable health and durable financial. And keep in mind as well, many people think these these are end of life, documents. I don't need to worry about those until perhaps I have a chronic or acute illness. Well, we've, through the work that we've done in the clinics and our contact with various medical folks, recognize that it's really any age, and it really is the age of majority. As soon as you've reached 18, the law recognizes that you're considered, in so many circumstances, an adult. Okay, yeah. And so the presumption then made, well, my parents will take care of me, or a family friend, or whatever. Well, if you really want to be clear about that, as John has pointed out, on having then an agent or a trusted individual, then that's the reason for having these documents. And so, where many people have said in the past, well, it's only for seniors or for those over 60 or whatever. We found in our work, it's from 18-year-old on upwards for all of these documents, both for the durable power of attorneys, because you never know, an 18-year-old can end up having a chronic or an acute illness or just an accident where they're unable to convey their, what their desires for medical treatment are. And then the other is, sad to say, if that accident results in their death, not having a basic will, to even so many 18 to 20-something-year-olds will say, well, I don't have anything. Well, in many cases they might have a car, they might have personal property. And once again, is if they have some specific direction or guidance that they'd like to make sure particular items either go to other siblings or go to their parents or other relatives, having that basic will in place is a key document.
And it seems also that the durable power of attorney really affects your decision on your quality of life.
Absolutely, right.
So,
yep. And
yeah.
So two other documents, and so again, that's where, it's while you're living, the durable powers of attorney we've talked about. Another item, particularly for those who own a home, is a declaration of homestead. Okay, and what that Montana law provides is that really what it does is protect your home from unsecured debts up to a certain amount, and the current amount is about $250,000. So there's no reason for any homeowner, regardless of whether you have any of these documents, not to, at a minimum, also have a declaration of homestead exemption, because that protects their property. Now, the equivalent of that, or the document that works when you, upon your death, okay, is a beneficiary deed. And so that's where, with a basic will, if you got a basic will and you decide, well, I would like to have my sons or daughters or other relatives own my property, own my home in particular, okay, after my death. Having a beneficiary deed that says upon my death, then that property goes to them. And that avoids, in some cases, a lot of people will talk about probate. And that's the other, is a lot of people say, well, I don't want to get a will because that's sort of it indicates, maybe my imminent death, which is not the case. But the other is, I'm concerned about probate. Well, once again, under Montana, we could spend a lot of time talking, but having a basic will and protecting your property is a way to assist in not having an issue upon your death that probate would have to apply. And a beneficiary deed is a document that can be used to convey your home, in particular, to specific individuals that you may have wanted to have happen upon your death.
That seems really important for a homeowner.
Yes, exactly.
To be able to leave their property to their family.
Right. Now, again, that's the other reason is all of these, and John may have touched upon a little bit, is these are not static documents. And because of our change of life circumstances, so there might be, as a young couple that, just starting a family, you still need a basic will. You need some of these durable powers of attorney. But then when you start to have a family, then you want to change, that will to incorporate, perhaps what you want done with your children, and then later in life, in circumstances, all of us have lots of, change of life circumstances. And so that's the other. These are not documents, and one thing John may have touched upon is the reason for conducting all these clinics and the work that John has done over these years is to emphasize that you need to make, as your change of life circumstances changing, you make the changes in these documents that are appropriate at the time. And I think he can speak to the fact that while he's done, over the last dozen years, these clinics, there are individuals who I'm sure have contacted John over the period of time and said, I need now to update my healthcare power of attorney for whatever reason. I've decided, the agent that I had, I'd like somebody else. Or I had a basic will and now for, maybe they've lost a spouse or they've had some different ideas of what they'd like to do with distributions for family members. So it's sort of one of those things that you should almost on an annual basis or
review it at least.
Exactly. So
how easy is it to do these documents?
Well, I think people can, people said, well, can I do them on my own? You can, but we, from a legal perspective, we like to see someone who has a legal background, a paralegal who's supervised by an attorney, do these. They're more acquainted with them. And one of the things that's happened is that there was most of the documents we've talked about, the beneficiary deed, the durable power attorney for financial, and the declaration of homestead are all statutory documents. The durable power attorney for health care is not. But one of the things that's happened over the last year is a representative group of attorneys, the State Bar of Montana, Marcia Getting with the Extension Services, ourselves with Montana Generational Justice. There has been the chair of the health law section of the State Bar, the chair of the betters section of the State Bar, and other people who have been concerned about that particular document. And they've come up with an amazing document that incorporates both the durable power of attorney and the living will. And it's like I said, it's been a year in the making. It's now on, I think it's on the website now, or shortly will be on the website for the Extension Service. And it's a great document. But the other thing, when Chris was talking about, if circumstances change for people. And I think one of the things that we're doing now, we with permission from each person that we work with, we keep that unnotarized document for them. We don't keep the notarized document, the unnotarized document.
They get the notarized document.
Yes. So then, we then in the future can make whatever changes, and there's no cost for that.
Oh.
So we make those changes to update their documents. And so that's an important thing. So a person comes in and say, well, I've had these durable power attorneys for 25 years. Well, or a will that they've had it for X number of years. They need to update them. So we will update those documents for them. And so it's a very cost effective. One of the concerns, like I mentioned before, is people have worried about the cost. Well, I myself am one that I can't pay the high end to get my documents done. But I use myself as an example of the Modest Means Program. I can pay for what the Modest Means Program is providing on a flat fee. And if people want to call the number that was listed at 422-3904, we can tell them about that. There is a process that we go through. Not only do we go through and identify what their income is, we also do a kind of its intake form, which really gives us an idea of what knowledge they have, what they need to know about each of the documents, what they need to prepare for before they come in to meet. We do this we can do it by a clinic, but if people live across the state, we do that by a phone clinic, and we're getting into the Zoom as an option too, where we can complete this by phone. We review the document with them, and if it's complete, then they pay what the fee was, and there's no surprises, and they receive the document. And they get the documents notarized and witnessed, and they're free to go. They look very professional. So over the years, we also have
And I just want to say they're reviewed by an attorney.
Yes.
Exactly.
Thank you. All the documents are reviewed by our attorney. So, and the other part behind that is that we like people to have the opportunity to learn more about what we are doing. We also, for those we've helped out, Chris has mentioned this, we had clinics this last year. We had one at the Fort, at Fort Harrison. We had one at a senior center. We had two at St. Pete's Hospital. We had one at Helena College. So we're dealing, as Chris had indicated, all ages that can participate in this. And I think the key point behind people is they need to be educated on what it is, the importance of these documents, and it takes some of that stress away from them and from their family when they understand what the document does and the importance of the document.
All right. Well, thank you both. This has been very informative. And for our audience, please call 422-3904 to have your documents prepared or completed and to ask any questions about this. So thank you from Montana Generational Justice.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.